everybody's ready, 10 seconds, what do I have to do? That's right, you better stand. Okay. I'd like to call our city council meeting to order and ask everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The roll, please.
Avci.
Here.
Belke. Here. Marquez.
Here.
McIver.
Here.
Paderewski.
Here.
Schauer.
Here.
Seifert.
Here.
7 present.
We have a quorum. The next item is the approval of the minutes of April 1st, 2013. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Marquez, seconded by Alderman Belke. Any additions or deletions for the clerk on those minutes? Then the roll, please.
Marquez.
Aye.
Belke.
Aye.
Paderewski.
Aye.
McIver.
Aye.
Seifert.
Aye.
Schauer.
Aye.
Avci.
Abstain.
I have 6 ayes and 1 abstention.
The minutes have been approved?
Correct.
Okay.
And we skipped one.
Oh, I did. I went right past, yes, I did. We have a new item on the agenda, item 5, that I just happened to skip over. Questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. We have added this to our agenda a while ago to allow the public who is in attendance to address any of the items that are on the agenda this evening ahead of our voting and not wait till the end of the meeting. So I would like to offer that to anyone in the audience who wanted to address the council about any items that happen to be on the agenda. Oh, by the way, the item under new business, item A, has been removed from the agenda this evening. We will be having that resolution on the agenda when we have the the new city council in office. But we will still have discussion on that issue by the aldermen, and I guess we could probably have that discussion at the beginning of the. No, let's let the audience see. Let's start with the audience. If anyone in the audience would like to address the council on any issues, I'd please ask you to come forward. Items on the agenda, and are you here for the item that I just said? Oh, then please, yes, any items. That's right, it's on any items. I'm sorry, Claudia, I failed to mention that. It's any items, not just the agenda items.
I was confused. Okay, I came. My name is Claudia Manley. I'm a Darien resident. Recently elected.
Claudia,
to
could you just pull the mic up?
Yeah,
thank you.
Recently elected on April 9th to Hinsdale High School District 86 School Board on the Friends for District 86 slate, along with Edward Corcoran and Victor Cassini. So the 3 of us actually won. Came to introduce ourselves and to let you know that one of the pillars that we ran on was community collaboration. And we were going around and we're introducing ourselves individually and collectively when we can to the various city councils, and hopefully we'll get over to some school boards as well prior to the election to extend our hand in collaboration. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Congratulations, Claudia, and best of luck in your venture.
Congratulations, Claudia.
Yes. Did anyone else want to address the council on any items that they don't have to be on the agenda this evening? All right, let's move on. Well, let's hold the discussion on the item that we removed tonight towards the end of the meeting. Let's move right to receiving of communications. Do any of the aldermen have communications to share? I was invited, the chief and I had the privilege of speaking with the Younger Than Ever Seniors Club today over at Sportsplex, and it was a privilege. We were all both commenting on that was probably the largest group that we've spoken to so far. 72 strong were there to listen to, and I received a phone call, and they were very pleased with the information that we shared with them. They thought it was very important, and they thought you were very intelligent, Chief Brown. But thank you for inviting us. We really enjoyed it, and I'd love to get out there and introduce ourselves and share all of our information. Anyone else have communications? Alderman Abchi?
Yes, I just wanted to thank all the residents of Ward 7 who came out and voted on April 9th. As Claudia mentioned, we had the election a week ago. I wanted to also congratulate on TV Mr. Balzac on his win. I wish him and all the residents of Ward 7 and Darien best of luck.
Well, you'll still be with us at our next council meeting.
I know, but while it's fresh in my mind.
I thought you were going to leave us at right now here.
I could if you want me to.
No. Thank you. If there's no other communications to share, I'd like to move on to the mayor's report. And we have Claire Bongiovanni, the president of the Darien Chamber, to give us updates on what's going on with them.
Good evening. The Darien Chamber would like to welcome new Darien businesses to the Chamber: the American Academy of Sleep Clinic, Family Care Chiropractic and Acupuncture, Family Canine Dog Training, and Darien Animal Clinic. Chamber 101 will be held on April 24th, 2013, 9 a.m. at State Bank of Countryside. New and existing members are all welcome to attend. You can register online at darienchamber.com. Registration is now open for the Darien Dash, which will be held on Sunday, May 19th, 8:30 a.m. at Darien Community Park. T-shirt and bib pickup will be held on Saturday, May 18th from 8 a.m. to noon at Export Fitness, located in the Chestnut Court Shopping Center. Thank you for all of our sponsors for supporting this annual event. As of right now, as the school contest goes, Our Lady of Peace is still in the running for the lead, and Hinsdale South is in second place. So we're encouraging all the schools to get registered so the chamber can give out some cash. Community volunteers are needed to help the Darien Dash Committee put up direction signs on Saturday, May 18th. If anyone is interested, they can call the chamber office at 630-968-0004. Concentra's grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony will be held on Saturday, May 11, 2013, 11 a.m. Concentra is located at 7421 South Cass Avenue in Darien. Concentra is also inviting the entire community to their VIP client open house, which is going to be held next Wednesday, the 24th. It's an all-day event from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. They're going to be having continental breakfast from 8 a.m. to 9:30. Starting at 9:30 to 11:30, VIP center tours. They're going to have a lunch at 11:30 to 2, and then VIP tours again from 2 to 5:30, and then at 5:30 to 8 p.m. they're going to have a happy hour with hors d'oeuvres and additional VIP tours. They're going to be giving out raffle tickets throughout the day, and we'll be doing the drawings in the evening. So the entire community is invited to that event. Save the date for the Wilton School of Cake Decorating re-grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony on Saturday, June 8th. Darien Fest will be held September 6th, 7th, and 8th. We're going to be doing Battle of the Bands again. This time it'll be live on stage on Saturday, the 7th, and live Darien Idol on Sunday, the 8th. New this year, we are going to be having our first annual Darien Fest Pet Parade, which is going to be held Saturday morning, September 6th, from 10 a.m. to noon. At this time, I would like to introduce a new chamber member and the chairperson of our pet parade, Miss Liz Husky with Family Canine Dog Training.
Hello, nice to meet everybody. I'm Liz Husky with Family Canine Dog Training.
Liz, you might want to pull the mic up a little bit so everybody at home could hear you.
I'm usually not taller. I found a Family Canine in 2008. I've been training dogs a lot longer than that, for over 10 years. I started mainly training dogs in shelters and rescues, training the dog specifically. And I found the need to actually be going out and train the people to make sure that they have safe family pets and happy homes. So I moved into Family Canine. And I wrote down a mission statement to kind of give you information about personally my mission is to provide pet owners quality options for training family pets humanely to create loving, lifelong bonds built on respect. Also to educate pet owners on the importance of training pets to be well-behaved and under control within the community. To support that mission, I do group classes. I've been actually doing group classes at the Darien Park District since 2006. I train all levels of obedience. I do basic and advanced obedience, and I also do the AKC programs, American Kennel Club. The American Kennel Club sponsors programs, or basically creative programs that match my mission statement exactly. It's about responsible dog ownership. So I also am an AKC approved evaluator. I do Canine Good Citizen evaluations and training, and all of my puppy classes are the Star Puppy that's sponsored by the AKC. I also do private lessons to address behavioral issues and obedience in the home at the person's location at the source. Okay. I also volunteer with my own dog, Otis. Otis and I have been certified for therapy dogs through Therapy Dog International. It's one of the many organizations out there where you can certify your dog to be pet therapy qualified. And I also volunteer for a Caring Place Humane Society, which is a rescue group who basically fosters dogs and gets them adopted into people's homes. I foster sometimes, not all the time, but usually tougher cases. But I spend my time mostly volunteering to help the fosters actually take in the dogs temporarily while they go into their homes, and also go and am a source for the people who are newly adopting their pets so that they have a source right away to get the training started right away. As I said, me and Otis, we've been doing therapy work for over a year. I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you saw us in the Darien Neighbors magazine, but they did put us in there because of the pet stories involved. So you can learn a little bit more about us in there. But basically, we once a month go to adults with disabilities through the CSPAR program. And it's really a lot of fun. He's a very active young dog, and he's very large. So it really gets everybody moving and activated, and he loves to perform. So we do that regularly. We also have done some hospice work recently. We moved into that area, and obviously a different setting, but what I found what was really special in that is people who have limitations on ability to move, speak, and do certain things. What's nice about Otis is he's very large, so he's right there. So no matter who he meets, he brings smiles and brings people out. So it's really wonderful. So some of the goals that I have personally for my business are to, number one, expand to full-time. Right now I am part-time. To hopefully expand into like a daycare boarding facility, if possible. And then also to expand my training services to include therapy dogs. So in other words, once Otis and I have completed our full year of active therapy work, I will be applying to become a certified evaluator myself so that I can start offering therapy classes as well as certifying people and their own dogs. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And as Claire said, chairman of the Pet Parade this year, the first annual. So I'm looking forward to that too. Should be a lot of fun.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation.
Any questions?
Claire, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We were sad to see Caribou close in Darien. We were there yesterday for the kind of the last half hour, so if you have contact, please, thank the folks that were there.
I just got Caribou to join the chamber, and I was so thrilled. And then all of a sudden, we had all the paperwork done. I get an email. I couldn't believe it. And, it was just, we were crying the other day, on my last drive-through. It was sad. I felt sorry. I tried to send them over to Chuck's because everybody's looking for jobs, but yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, it was pretty much of a surprise that the
Yeah.
national company made that
Right.
decision.
And the manager who joined the chamber, he found out, he was on vacation, and he found out while he was on vacation, so.
Well,
it just
gee, that
happened
isn't that a nice
overnight.
company
Yeah.
to let you
It hap-
know?
it
Boy, oh,
happened
boy.
overnight.
Well, those
Yeah.
folks were there, they'll be missed, because my kids kind of grew up on their, their
Yeah, I like
little chocolate
Caribou
bar.
coffee compared to Starbucks or anything else.
So, okay, thank you.
Yes, and we're at our next initiatives meeting, we're going to be talking about the town hall.
Yes.
We've switched, typically, the mayor would give a state of the city report in September with the Chamber of Commerce. We're changing that whole concept into a town hall meeting in September, same thing.
September 26th.
That's right, at Carriage
From
Grades.
7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Carriage Greens Country Club.
We'll still incorporate the state of the city in it, but we're inviting all of the taxing bodies to participate also. So it'll be a real nice open forum for
Different.
yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Claire. Also, I wanted to report to the council and to the viewing audience, too, that I received the resignation of Mark Piccoli, who has been on our Fire and Police Commission and has served our city admirably over a number of years. And I wanted to ask residents to, if they are interested in not only the Fire and Police Commission, but if they are interested in applying for any other positions within the city. We have voluntary committees throughout the city that if you are interested in getting involved in the city, please feel free to call the city and get one of our applications for commissions and sign up and get those applications back to me so I can take a look and possibly have the next candidate for our Fire and Police Commission.
Those are online also. You can
And
go right on
the applications are online also, I forgot. We are a very transparent city. If you don't know about all the ways that we get our message out, we will be glad to tell you about it. Let's move on to the city clerk's report.
I'd like to remind those that have to fill out their statement of economic interest for DuPage County that they are due on May 1st, and also the Darien ethics statements are due on May 1st, but if you are late with the county, they do charge late fees. We do not. Also, Administrator Vanna asked that I say something about the canvas. The canvas will be given to the city on or before April 30th, so at our next council meeting, the new alderman, or the re-elected alderman, will be sworn in, and then we'll also be saying goodbye to a couple of our existing aldermen.
Very good, okay. Let's move on to the city administrator's report.
I have no report, Mayor. Thank you.
Let's move on to department head and information. Okay. Scott, this is going to show up on the cameras behind the alderman?
Yes, it will.
This will show up on there and the other screen. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Marina Liska. I'm an officer for the City of Darien. Next to me is Lauren Renner. She's also an officer for the City of Darien. We just wanted to do a small presentation that we think is very important for our seniors in the area, since it's such a growing population. They're saying the seniors are they're more prevalent than even teenagers now in their population, and with that comes a lot of challenges too. Last October, Chief Brown sent Lauren and myself to a training given by the Attorney General's office, and we volunteered for it. Actually, we kind of had selfish reasons for that. I have a 90-year-old mother who is got some issues going on, and Lauren has a 90-year-old grandmother, and so we thought, what could we learn here and then implement some of the programs and bring them back. We have a soft heart for senior citizens, and like I said, the needs have changed quite a bit, especially in this world right now. So Lauren is going to give a small presentation, then I have some information to give, and we'll have time for a question and answer after, okay?
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Hi, as Marina stated, I'm Lauren Renner. We both work patrol. Whenever there's a call where there's a senior involved, especially if they need assistance, the other officers will come to us and say, hey, I have this case, can you look at it? And we kind of go from there and help since we were trained. It was a 5-day class. We're certified through the state of Illinois as elderly service officers. So, a little presentation. Just some statistics on these senior citizens in America. They're kind of shocking. 12.7% of the population of the U.S. is over age 65, and about 31% of them live alone. Those over the age of 50 control about 70% of the total net worth in our nation. People are living longer than they did before, and the elderly population is growing rapidly. Actually, since 1983, people who were 65 years of age and older have outnumbered teenagers, and that's still true to today. All this being said, it makes seniors very easy targets for crimes, and the criminals are well aware of this. Interesting, I just learned in a class that I recently went to, most seniors feel that they will be the victims of horrific crimes such as murder, rape, robbery, burglary, home invasion, or crimes committed by drug dealers and or gangbangers, which is so far from the truth, but that's what they fear. That's what they see as being a crime against them. The truth is more than 90% of crimes against the elderly are property crimes. Property crimes also, money and financial crimes falls under the property crimes. That being said, I think we need to start looking at our country's seniors. Annually, 2.5 million seniors are victims of property crimes, 46,000 purse snatchings, 165,000 non-lethal violent crimes. So then it comes, where does the police department fit in all of this? We need to educate our seniors so that they are not victims of crimes. We also need to make them aware of all the services that are available to them. As elderly service officers, our goals are to train all the officers at our department on this topic so that they can help us protect our seniors, deter crime, prevent crime, and aid the elderly in living their lives the best they can. Over the past several years in Darien, we have seen many crimes against the elderly, especially working patrol. We get so many calls of scams. Some people have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, their life savings, and seniors live on a very tight budget, so this is extremely important. A lot of the crimes, but they're not limited, are home repair fraud, gypsy and traveler crime, ruse entries and residential burglaries, con games such as the lottery. They'll call and say, your grandchild has been arrested, we need you to send money, don't tell your parents. Telemarketing, pigeon drops, all those kinds of frauds. There's also theft. A lot of time the gypsy and travelers will come, distract the homeowner, especially if they see them outside. Oh, we want you to come look, your neighbor's gonna be building a fence here, or we wanna do this to your property. Two people distract the elderly, meanwhile someone else goes inside the house, ransacks it very quickly. We saw a lot of this, and it's very, very sad. The seniors have no idea, and they don't realize the crime's been committed until they go to get those items months later, and it makes it very hard for us to help solve the crime because those people are long gone. Elder abuse and neglect is unfortunately becoming prevalent. Recently there was a case in Darien. Two of the officers responded, actually twice we've responded to the residents. The officers came to me, I was working, and said, hey, this is what I have going on, what can you do? At that point, I was in contact with the DuPage County Sheriff's Office. They have senior services through the county. In collaboration with an assistant state's attorney, Illinois Guardian's Office, DuPage County, we were able to get this woman out of the house. We found out that she had been abused for years, beaten for years. She had Alzheimer's, so people thought, oh, she's falling, or she's not telling the truth when she said, my husband's hitting me. Ultimately, going to the court, the state got guardianship. One of her sons now has power of attorney over her, and she is in another state and safe. And I think had it not been for this training, it would have gone unnoticed, and she would still be living in that house. And I, hate to think what could have happened to her if we had just let it go. The other type of elder neglect can be self-neglect. We have hoarders in town. It's very hard to deal with them because if they don't want the help, we can't force it on them. So we're still trying to work out bumps with that, but we're aware of the problems in town and we're trying to offer them help. And most importantly, the DuPage County Services in DuPage County can't really do anything for these people without us acting and enforcing the law. So it's very important that it starts with us, charging people with domestic battery or theft or whatever, and then they have a little more power to do what they need to do on their end. Oftentimes, the offenders are not outsiders. Most often, the people that are abusing and stealing from the elderly are either their family members or caretakers. We need to let the citizens of Darien know that we have officers that specialize in the elderly, that are there for them. Seniors aren't always forthcoming about being victims of crimes because they feel ashamed or they're in fear of retaliation. We really need to build relationships with these seniors so that they can trust us and come to us when there is a problem. And we need to be able to interact with them as much as possible. Up until this point in October, the Darien Police Department has not had any officers that were certified in dealing with senior citizens. We've started the program, but we have a lot of ideas and services that we'd like to expand on. It's just going to take some time. And the following are just some goals that we as elderly service officers at the Darien Police Department want to accomplish for the community. We want to develop a senior citizen database. Our goal is to keep a record of senior citizens in Darien and keep their contact information. This would allow us to check on them during inclement weather, make sure their heat is working, if they have air conditioning or their fans in the summer, make sure they're not snowed in their homes, that they're not stuck. If the power goes out, we need to make sure they have working medical equipment. We also want to ensure that seniors are aware of the services available to them through the Attorney General's Office, Illinois State Police, DuPage County Sheriff's Office, DuPage County Senior Services in the Downers Township, as well as the Darien Police Department. There's Dial-A-Ride, which offers discounted rides to and from certain places, medical appointments. A Be Safe program, which advocates for senior citizens so they're not victims of identity theft and financial crimes. There's also an in-home senior respite program, and that's where volunteers come out to the house. One, it relieves the caregivers and gives them a break, as that can take a toll on the caregivers. They don't perform any medical or professional services. They just come in, they'll play cards with them, they'll talk to them, and just kind of be company for them. Home repair and renovation services is through the DuPage County. It provides minor home repairs to residents ages 60 and older at a reduced rate, and these people have been kind of like a background check through the county, so they verify that these people that they're sending into the homes of seniors are okay. We would like to start training businesses in town to recognize crimes against the elderly, specifically bank employees. We want to teach them to recognize suspicious situations and report them to us right away. So many times, people who are committing the fraud will tell them, here, I'll split this check with you, you deposit it in your account, keep all of it, but write me my portion for $2,000. Unfortunately, the seniors go to the bank, write these people a check. Of course, the check that they provided the senior is false, and the senior's out the money. And it's very important that the tellers and whoever else is working at the bank detect that so that they can call us right away to, even if we can't charge the person, at least the senior still has their money. We also want to train Walmart employees because that's where many of the scammers tell their victims to go to either wire money or do a money order. A lot of times they'll call and say your grandson or granddaughter is in jail in Canada. They were fishing without a license. Don't tell my mom, please. And now with the internet, they have a little bit of background information on this supposed grandchild, and they give them names that are legit. And unfortunately, the seniors fall for it, and they go to Walmart and send $20,000 in a money order to somebody in another country or someone in another state. And lastly, we want to make contact with other groups in town and work with them. At the senior living facilities, we have several in town, churches, and the Park District. And most of all, our main goal is to make contact with the senior citizens in Darien, build a trusting relationship with them, and work together to ensure that they're utilizing the services available to them and living their golden years to the fullest. And certainly if there's a senior out there who needs something or someone who knows of a senior, please contact Officer Liska or myself. We'd be more than happy to help. It's a growing problem and it needs to be addressed, so we're there for the seniors.
I think Alderman MacGyver has a question.
Well, I have a comment. Could we possibly write an article about this in the next Neighbors magazine? there's
I
no
don't
service.
see any reason why. Scott, we can make sure we get that written up.
Because I think that's a major resource for seniors. They do look at that Neighbors Magazine. They may not see the TV or the.
Yeah, Chief, we were just at the Younger Than Ever Seniors Club today, Chief and I, and that is a really good organization that we need to get both of you in front of. There were 72 members strong, so it's a big group. They're associated with Our Lady of Peace, but you guys, we got to get you over there for them for sure.
And maybe even put our contact information, maybe we can even get it on the city website so that,
Yes,
you know, even if family members are Googling or looking for it or whatever, they can find us.
yes, without a doubt. Now, I just wanted to compliment you both. I read Lauren's report that I was copied on. It was so thorough, and I'm really impressed and so proud of both of you how you've stepped up and just taken this issue on and done such a thorough job of researching it. And thank you very much for all that you've done. This has been wonderful.
No, absolutely. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
So Marina has a couple things to show.
One of the things that we want to implement as soon as possible is our lockbox program. We want to implement a lockbox program in the city of Darien. DuPage County does have one now, but they're spread real thin. They've got so much to cover, and you only get so many resources. Purpose of the lockbox, and you don't have to be a senior for this, but this is real good. We, as police officers, are usually first responders. Medical situations, anything like that, we get there before the paramedics. Our vehicles are just, easier to get around, and we don't have the big trucks to go through, drive around and stuff like that. So we are usually the first responders, and a lot of times we have problems with getting into a building or a home or a residence. Especially our seniors now, they want to stay independent for as long as they can. They don't want to go to a home. A lot of them have caretakers, and what happens if something happens to the caretaker? I had a situation where a caretaker at one time was having a seizure, and the senior wasn't able to go to the door and answer. Yes, we can break the door in, okay? I mean, obviously we can, but then that, has other problems too, and homeowners insurance does cover it, but usually have a deductible. And, cost is a factor with seniors. They live on tight budgets. So my mother has a lockbox. I went through the fire department in Riverside where she lives, and I paid, I think it was $160, and I had to put it up on, and drill it in and everything. And that was about 12, 13 years ago, and I didn't know that they had these. These are relatively recent, I would say, within the past 5, 7 years. This one I recommend only because it's pretty inexpensive. It's easy to set up. You just pick 3 or 4 numbers, and I would suggest not putting this, I can pass this around, not putting this on a front door where somebody can see that you have a lockbox, maybe in the back, or I know somebody who even attached it to the spigot on their water. It doesn't come off. It's pretty hard to break. It is weather resistant, and you can put keys in there. And that's nice to know. And we want to implement the program where if a senior fills out, and we're hoping that they do, a Darien elderly contact card will have a lockbox, and it would say yes. And then if they can share that number with us, it wouldn't be going anywhere, the combination, other than if there was an emergency at their home, it shows up on our screen, and then it would say lockbox, yes, it would give the combination where it's located, and we can get in there very, very fast, because obviously seconds matter to help the senior or help the homeowner. So this is strictly a voluntary program, but we're hoping that if the seniors come into the station, then we also give them our pocket pals from DuPage County and from from Downers Grove Township with all the programs available for them. A lot of seniors don't go on the internet. They're intimidated by the internet. So there are phone numbers here that they can talk to people. If anybody, we are making ourselves available. I have gone to seniors' houses and actually filled out file of lives for them. Those of you, if you know what they are, they stick on your refrigerator, and if a senior has any medical conditions, medication, emergency contact, we know to look there instead of going through drawers and wasting 10, 15, 20 minutes trying to find information on contacts and stuff. It's all in the refrigerator. And it's just a little thing. It folds up. It's red in color, and it's just a world of information. It can help quite a bit. So we've got quite a few things that we're going to start implementing. And the elderly contact card I'm really excited about because the seniors can come in, or even like my mother can't come in. She can't, walk. She's housebound. I would take over that. So, a trusted adult, a family friend, a relative can come in and pick this up for them. And to also start the lockbox program off, I have talked with Home Depot, and they have graciously agreed to give us coupons for $5 off a lockbox. Lockboxes are $29.99, which is considerably cheaper than a regular lockbox from, I think I paid $160
I was
for my
going to
mother.
say, yeah.
And these are very well made. They're tough, and $5 off, it's $24.99. For the seniors that are having problems, maybe financially they can't afford it, then we can go through DuPage County and get one free of charge. It just takes a little bit longer. This is something that we have, on hand, and we can get activated right away. So I'm kind of excited about this. This is just part of the programs that we're starting for seniors.
So Marina, when you get these cards filled out by either the senior citizen or one of their trusted people, are you going to add these into a database?
Yes.
That's what you're going to do with these?
We're going to have a file
Okay.
for them, and if we have the information with the lock boxes, and also if they can provide us with a picture, that would be great, because a lot of times, seniors get lost, and that helps quite a bit. The faster we can get, somebody looking for them, the better off they are. People are living longer now with medications and everything, and, we are trying to keep them as independent as possible in their homes for as long as possible. And I think that's very important for them.
Yeah. Chief, I think we need to get Marina and Lauren to the seniors groups. There are a few seniors groups in the city of Darien.
We would love to.
Armed with all of these cards so we can get all of them signed up right away.
Right.
Yes, Alderman MacGyver?
I have a senior mom too, and I think one of the other things that, we talk about all the kind of the scary stuff, but the one thing that seniors that are still somewhat independent is they're out and about, and, when people are at work. So they're great neighborhood watch people.
Yes.
But they're very nervous about actually calling in. I'll get phone calls like, I just saw someone doing this, what should I do? I said, hang up the phone and call 911. And so I think just as you meet with groups, just educating them about being proactive, and if there's a question, just call 911. I think they're
Right.
very hesitant to do that because that's not how things were done.
Well, they think somebody's going to retaliate against them, I'm
Right.
sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or that just, they handled things of their generation. They didn't, complain or call. They don't want to bother the police, is what I used to get
Yeah.
all the time. It's
Yeah.
like, no, please bother us,
Yes. Thank you. Anything else for Officers Renner and Liska?
I think it's a wonderful program. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
the chief, actually, Lauren and Marina wanted to get involved in this. The chief said, go ahead, and they have gone gangbusters with it. A lot of information they've gathered together, so thank you.
You're welcome.
I was just about to say, getting the training is only half the work. Having two people who get energized by the training they get and then go gangbusters after it, Officers Renner and Liska are truly to be commended for the steps that they've taken, the effort that they put into this to make this work. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. With their energy level and their innovative ideas, we're going to go gangbusters with this, and we think it's really critical. 3 points on their presentation. Early on, Lauren talked about perception. One of the things that criminologists know, that the perception about crime is more important than the reality. if seniors think that they're going to be victimized, it's almost paralytic. And so whatever we can do to make sure that they aren't paralyzed by the perception, we should be doing. One of the reasons why seniors are victimized in the way that they're victimized is oftentimes their age is an impediment to being good witnesses. And so the more information that we have, the more contact we have with them, the better we can facilitate witnesses when there is an event if we haven't prevented it. And then lastly, this kind of activity supports the reason why we needed to know how much discretionary time, how much 911 time, and it allows us to make a management decision about what we need to do with that time and how we can direct our officers to better serve our citizens. So I think those are the highlights that I wanted to underscore about their presentation. Lastly, we're going to be looking at some grants so that we don't have to rely on outside resources or anybody else in the event that our seniors buy into this to the full level that we hope that the seniors will. So we're going to be exploring some grant opportunities to help fund this and to keep them going and to keep the training going. So again, I want to thank you guys for an outstanding job. So
Yeah.
Thank you. Recently, I had the
You did say finally, excuse me.
He's not giving the hook, Chief. He's not.
like the Gong Show again, you know? Recently had the pleasure of attending some training that was put on by the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the Illinois Law Enforcement Training Standards Board Executive Institute. This training underscored violence against women, and it was, in 33 years of law enforcement, it's probably the best training that I've ever received. And it was the best because it brought some ideas that I hadn't conceptualized before. And it talked about the interconnectedness of the crimes against women, the violence against women, such as domestic battery, criminal sexual assault, strangulation, and stalking. Historically, in law enforcement, we viewed these crimes as isolated incidents. The reality of it is these crimes, the term that they coined, were continuous continuums of behavior is what it was. And so what happened is one of the examples they gave us was a police officer candidate who had filled out a questionnaire where he was asked how many had he ever committed a crime. And he said yes, that he had smoked marijuana 15 years previously. When he got to his polygraph interview, he was asked the same question, and he went on to give a litany of 3 or 4 occasions where he had committed a sexual assault against a woman who had drank too much and passed out. And so had it not been for the in-depth interview of this candidate, he would have wound up being a police officer who had committed sexual assaults. And so what it told us is that a couple of things. That, number one, we can do a better job at serving women who are victims of violence. We need to establish internal policies that speak to the larger goals. It's not enough just to simply respond. We have to have policies that really compel us to do the right thing in terms of how we relate to victims of violence. Because ultimately, if we don't, we victimize that individual twice. We do not have a huge problem with violence against women in Darien, so I don't want to leave anybody with that. But domestic violence is one of the more pervasive issues that we do have. When I looked at the domestic violence calls for last year, domestic violence calls represent almost 35% of all the 911 calls we get, and about 1/4 of the time spent on 911 calls. So conceptually, there are 800,000 minutes or spent on 911 calls. 230,000 of those minutes are spent responding to domestic violence. So we certainly need to take a look at how we're doing that. So along those lines, and one of the reasons I'm still up here, Dan, is because we're going to be looking to create some committees, not just committees in the more traditional form, but committees that are made up by the people who consume the services. We're looking to create committees for developing internal police department policies that are made up by citizens. So we're looking for community groups like the Darien Women's Club, individual citizens, recommendations from you folks, and anyone else who could either recommend someone or who's willing to sit on a policy-making committee so that they can make recommendations on how we can best respond as a police department to these issues. And so our policy is going to be framed in part with input from the people that we serve. So it's not innovative, but I think it's a step in the right direction for us. And so I'm going to be looking for each of you to make some recommendations or to offer some suggestions along those lines. So that will conclude my presentation for tonight. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Chief, you're looking to have working groups of maybe 10 individuals. Is that my understanding?
Yes, ma'am. The first working group will obviously be a policy on criminal sexual assault and domestic battery. But we're going to be looking at some others, a policy on elderly abuse. We want some senior citizens involved in that because too frequently law enforcement has been like a really bad doctor. You come to us with a sickness and we tell you how we're going to fix it. And that certainly is not the best solution. We are law enforcement professionals, but that doesn't mean that it should be a unilateral decision on how we fix it. Certainly, we're the unilateral decision on putting handcuffs on people. We're the unilateral decision makers on writing tickets. But there's some problem solving that needs to take place so that we don't address a situation or a circumstance, that we address it with a process.
Okay. Any questions for the chief? And you're looking for these, I think you've advertised it in our Direct Connect already?
Direct Connect and the monthly newsletter. So and anybody who's interested in participating can either reach out to me directly or reach out to Carol Copter, the Executive Secretary in the Police Department. Leave your name and we'll get right back to you. And we really appreciate it. I think it's an effort. It's a win-win for everybody involved. It's a win for the police department because we come to understand what our customers need. It's a win for the citizens because it gives you an opportunity to frame policy that affects you. It's a win for the citizens because it gives you a reason to buy into the policies that we have.
Yeah.
Things like this we will run a couple of times on our Direct Connect also, so if residents missed it or they're wondering about phone numbers or Carol's number, that we'll put that out again on Friday.
Okay, very good. Okay. Going back to what Marina and Lauren are working on, I happen to be talking to Dante Ruffalo. He was at the Younger Than Ever Seniors today. He lives over in the condos, the Farmingdale condos, right off of 75th Street. And he informed me that they bought, I thought he said 165 of the elder locks for the residents there. And I think their contact is through the Fire Protection District. So there's a possibility that the Fire Protection District already has a database that you guys can tap into.
Well, I think they've already checked into that. They don't have a database. They basically issue them out. And so Lauren and Marina have already checked into that. So we'll be framing the database, and certainly we're going to share it with not only our DUCOM, but the fire service as well. So it'll be a collaborative effort. But currently, there is not a database.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, because Dante said they've already been very effective already for some of the seniors over in those buildings. So. That's the difference.
Not
Okay.
Spock's key.
Okay.
Yeah, not Spock's.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Oh, that's right. We have Dan.
Ditches and storm sewer sounds really interesting tonight.
Yeah. Lot to
Chief,
tell
feel
me.
free to interrupt you anytime. Good evening, City Council, residents, our residents here this evening. Two items. One of them is a follow-up to the Crest Basin. Last week, Administrator Vanna and myself had the opportunity to meet with the Director of Stormwater Division as well as some of the staff out on site at the Crest Basin. Basically, what the county had told us then is, due to several factors, we're seeing some of the basin quite barren. And the reasons for that is, number one, they did a burn last year. On that burn, basically included non-native species such as the cattails, in which case was very prevalent throughout the bottom. That is not one of the plantings for that basin. So with the burn, those obviously cattails were gone, and there's a mud basin, or mud flats as they refer to it. The second item was that some of the plantings did not make it due to the severe drought that we had last year. Since then, the county, or in the fall of last year, the county has put plantings in there, what they refer to as plugs. The wait-and-see approach is coming now, meaning that over the next 2 to 4 weeks, we're looking at seeing some sprouts come up. And again, that's to be seen.
Obviously, we don't see anything yet, and as part of the, where there's a lot more water, a full body of water that's continually submerged, we're not sure, neither is the county at this point, of what we're going to see there in the next 3 months, 6 months, et cetera, et cetera. The report that we've been given and staff has told us that the emergent plantings that were designed for that area are not native to Illinois. So we'll be working with the county. The county seemed very sincere to work with us in that respect.
And let me interrupt you. You said the non-emergent plantings?
The emergent plantings.
The emergent plantings. They're putting plantings in that are not specific to this area?
From years ago, this was probably 2005, the plantings that were introduced by one of the county staff is no longer with the county.
right,
How and why that happened on this plan, I can't.
Okay, so
even
in other
begin to
words, they
explain.
planted the wrong thing back when the basin was built.
And maybe it was through trial and error that they tried it somewhere and found out it doesn't work, so I don't have a very good history
Okay,
in that
all right.
respect.
Okay.
But the county is willing to cooperate and to continue their wetland management. The second portion of that's a follow-up is there was a resident here that evening who's basically butts up to the the west side of the basin, and there's, we'll call it a path for all intentions. The path there was also brought up. The county has conceded to provide an easement back to the city of Darien for mowing and or walking. So we'll be looking at an IGA coming forth from the county. Also, as of late morning, early afternoon, I had a call from Tony Charlton in respect to the trees that were proposed during the budget season. If you recall, staff had presented approximately 40 trees worth in a value of $11,000 to be planted, and that was not approved in the budget. Also, the county was not willing to cooperate and also provide any funding. Today, I had a phone call, like I said, early afternoon, and the county has agreed to not to exceed $5,000 for the planting of the trees. Like I said, we just found this out this afternoon. I spoke to Administrator Brian Vanna, and we'll be discussing whether or not that item will be included for this year's budget and how or where the money will be coming from. So I didn't want to basically let the council know in that respect. Also with that, the easement for these trees will be forthcoming in the IGA in conjunction with that side easement. The easement that I'm referring to now will be for the trees, which will be just immediately north of the sidewalk. That IGA will basically state that the city of Darien is responsible for those trees once they are and if they are planted. So that's that follow-up on Crest Basin. The second item, again, is another issue with the county. Last week, our city engineer, Dan Lynch, and myself were at the county to discuss something that's really exciting, flood zones. For those of you that don't know, there's a couple different, there's several areas throughout the city which are basically referred to as flood zones. There's floodways and floodplains. Floodways are areas where you can never build on, and floodplains are basically elevations that you have to be above the base flood elevation. Residents that are currently in flood zones are required to pay additional insurance, and that's required today from the lender. In this meeting that we were at, DuPage County has recently undertaken what's called a remapping of the flood zones within DuPage County.
With FEMA, by the way, Dan?
This is through FEMA and the Illinois State's water survey.
Okay.
So that there's a joint effort between the three agencies, and DuPage County was the target agency that basically gathered all the information, including grades or the survey of the properties. The problem is there's a little bit of a shock that's coming out, what we had found out last week. There's areas, for example, in Alderman Belkey's ward, the base flood elevation has been raised by approximately 1 foot. So without not having a whole map here, which that maps are very, very small in detail, so really couldn't explain it to you or show you. But the bottom line is that many residents would be pulled into this flood zone, which would now require them to have flood insurance. In another situation, Alderman Seifert's ward, the base flood elevation has been raised 7 feet. Again, that's 7 feet. So that's a wall of water, basically, that would be coming at you during a 500-year rain event. So with that said, we, the staff, have recently responded back to the Illinois State Survey, requesting the county to take a look at the discrepancy and to review their modeling, as well as the mayor will be forwarding a letter tomorrow in respect to to DuPage County with our position. Now, just so everyone understands, the position was from the county that staff would agree with the current mapping so the county can forward it to FEMA and the other agencies, in which case then the city would have an opportunity to appeal. Our objection, our position was that it was not fair for us to recommend that they go ahead and file it and then come back later and do an appeal process. So that's our objection, and that's what we're stating back to the county at this point. Not to say the economic impact that this could cause to residents that would be pulled into this flood zone. Right now, preliminary estimates would say there'd be approximately 20 additional homes that could be pulled into this flood zone area. Other than that, that's all I have for the city
Yeah,
council.
that's what he's saying in essence is if this were approved, maybe 20 more homes would get a letter from their bank saying, okay, now you got to come up with flood insurance, and it simply isn't at all the right way to do this.
And without not getting into what would happen if they came in and wanted to build a shed, for example, or a garage or a driveway. So that really has some drastic
Impact.
changes.
Alderman Seifert?
Just two things. I think with the lenders, though, unless there's a refinance or a sale going on, it's pretty unlikely an existing mortgage company would get that information. I'm pretty doubtful of that happening. And then my question, though, was, I know where I live, several of us have our houses exempted from the floodplain, whereas our properties are not. How would that affect those exemptions that are already in place?
Probably, I don't have the answer for you. And
yeah.
in some cases, they might be pulled back into the flood zone based on the base flood elevation, and what you are referring to is either referred to as a LOMA or a LOMAR, to which case a property, not the entire property, depending on what the situation is, that the structure itself, the living structure, for example, could be taken out of the floodway based on the base flood elevation and what type of waterproofing, if you want to say, that residence has completed.
Alderman Shower?
Just to Jorg's point, and he is correct, it would not affect anything. They would not be sending on out. The difference is, though, if people do go to refinance, they're going to immediately find out they're going into a flood zone. It's going to, may kill a deal here and there. But you're talking $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 for flood insurance per year. The real problem is going to be is when they go to sell that property. That property's in a flood zone is going to end up turning buyers away, and it's going to end up taking their value of their prices and bring it on down.
Yeah.
That's the major situation that you're going to be looking at. And problem is if a lot of these maps are only two-dimensional, a foot raise here, it's going to make a huge difference to it. So the way you guys are approaching it is absolutely correct. I continue to fight it and not approve it. So.
Yeah, and this is the issue that District 3, Brian, we have to
Yeah, that
District 3 wants to push this through right away and get us all voting for it, and we've got to strongly object to that. Alderman Belke, did you have a question? Did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I
I'm sorry.
did. And this is something that we can work together on, and I could see exactly, what was presented and the map area that's affected.
Sure, yes.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to come in or set up something, I think by communicating on an email on this, as far as the flood map zones themselves go, it's very difficult because it's so condensed. That I think we have a map that we can share with you.
Okay.
Alderman Abshi?
I wanted to ask about the 75th Street expansion. I was under the impression that the county would not start the construction until 2014, but I see some activity going on at the corner of Cass and Plainfield. Can you tell us what's happening then?
Sure. What's happening right now, and the county did not notify us of it, is what's referred to as potholing. So as part of their final engineering to determine what utilities are at what elevations, a company basically comes out and sucks the ground, sucks the ingredients of the ground, if you want to say, till they get the utility, and they leave a barricade over it till the engineer, till the survey crews can come back out and basically shoot that infrastructure that's in place. They have quite a few, several holes, I should say, up and down 75th Street. I do have a meeting with DuPage County next week in regards to plans and where the process is at. That's one thing I will be addressing with them, to make sure we don't have to deal with these open holes for the entire summer.
But the construction is still
Oh, I'm
targeted
sorry.
for 2014?
Yeah,
Correct. The construction is still targeted for 2014 with a bid date of, for the letting in November, was my latest understanding.
yeah. This is all part of the design phase.
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions for Dan? Alderman Poderowski?
Just an old history question. Years ago, the city got involved with the county, and we ended up having to buy the houses and tear them down. Is there any reason we should have to do this on any current houses?
I believe there's one that I have targeted. I know I've been in contact with the county.
Yeah,
The county has told us no funding for this home.
did that last time.
Right, and in this case, it's one home. I think part of the problem is there's not documented reports of flooding. But the residents feels that the county should be buying this property out. So while we pursued it, there wasn't anything of substance there to help justify that.
And Dan, just to be clear, what Alderman Poderowski's mentioning is independent from this other information you're providing from the county. Yeah, that is something that they looked at as part of their study 10 or 12 years ago.
And that's not to say if this does get implemented, the new flood zone, that additional programs could be coming out.
Yeah.
Anything else for Dan? Alderman Belke?
One more thing. Surprise. Question on the basin. So when they talk about a cost not to exceed $5,000, I would imagine, did they put a time frame on that? I would imagine we'd want to grab it if it's out there.
While they did not give me a specific time frame, the county usually works in the same type of sequencing as we do on a one-year budget. So it would have to be within a year, but it sounds, from my telephone conversation with them, is that they wanted us to provide them with a proposal, and they would issue us a remittance immediately. Just so the city council knows, we do have some pricing from last year, and I did contact the vendor preliminarily. They told me that they would hold that pricing. Again, if and when, we'll review that pricing and probably go back out to bid just to make sure we have refreshed bids.
Alderman Marquez?
Dan, with the price being half of what we were talking about for 40 trees, would you be looking at a different species, or would you be looking at a reduced number of the same tree?
Probably the same. I spoke to the vendor today, and I asked the vendor if we were able to do this for the $10,000 earmark, would you be able to still provide us with the same trees? They called their supplier, and they do have the trees still. They're basically 10.5-foot pine trees at this point. So they're willing to put the 40 trees in at a cost not to exceed $10,000. And again, we would still go out to bid just to make sure that we have a good, competitive price.
You know, I think the way we left it during the budget process, or even the last meeting, I think the direction that we gave here was to wait and see what the county comes up with, and if the plan works. I don't think the city council would be adverse at moving on these trees if we feel in the near future that it would be the best route to go. I don't think we close the door on completely eliminating that expense. Did I read everyone correctly?
No, I agree with you. Sorry, Madam
Yeah.
Mayor. I was against the 11,000, but the $5,000, I see chasing good money after good, and basically, it's a nice gesture from the county for their end. So if this came back to a vote, I'd switch my vote and say yes on this one.
And again, I think as Dan mentioned, the fact that they are really looking to work to establish that basin as how it should be. I mean,
Yeah.
that went a long way in our meeting also.
Yeah, we thought we were the lost child again, with the county, but it looks like they're stepping up, so we really appreciate that on their part. Alderman McIver?
Dan, is that 5,000 for, like, the trees or for them to plant the trees?
No, just,
They're gonna give us the money, the city will
Okay,
take
so
the
we could do it with the 5,000 what we need to do with it.
the trees,
okay.
yeah, which does relate to the planting of the trees specifically, yes.
okay.
Is
Thank
that something that we should bring forward at some point soon? I'm assuming we should, but
What is the consensus of the council?
next meeting?
I don't think those two aldermen heard what we were saying because they were talking to each other. So,
We had a recommendation.
pardon
So-
me?
We won't have the written agreement by the county, but we will at least have a motion from the council, maybe approving the expense, and we'll come back when we have the agreement
For next meeting?
for next meeting.
And it was my understanding, the way the county wanted to work this was for the city to, the staff to provide the county back the cost, which we already have, in a quote form. So we'll forward to the county what we had given them, or what we had talked about previously, or from last year's bid. And then they're gonna cut us a remittance then, basically, right away, as Tony Charlton had informed me.
Dan, will we need to talk about this again on April 29th at our next municipal services?
Well, depending if the funding is committed, what staff would do
yeah.
is,
Yeah,
Probably
we
the
don't- we
next
don't- I don't
meeting
think we-
after that,
I don't
Joe,
think we
yeah.
need to go back to a committee on this. I think
Okay.
I think we're at the council.
Because we already, you said something about going out to bid again.
well,
No.
from our perspective, staff will look at the pricing to make sure that it's in line, or take a look at the vendors that had submitted previously to see if we can make sure that we're getting the best
Okay,
price for these trees.
okay.
And then
Treasurer
Dan-
Corn?
Dan,
Yeah.
I guess I just have a question. Is there a better time for planting trees? Is the fall a better time than the spring as opposed to the summer during the drought or?
I knew you were going to ask that question, so I was prepared for it. By May, these trees, if they are moving forward, they should be planted by the middle of May. If not the middle of May, then not till September.
I'm glad I emailed you that question in advance so you could be prepared.
Yeah.
I really wanted to say that, but unfortunately, I can't. I wanted to be in your mind. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
You're always on my mind, Dan.
Let's not get that serious. Let's move on to the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, I'm requesting council's approval of warrant number 121321 in the amount of $400,407.35 from listed funds and payroll for the period ended April 4th, 2013 for $231,296.98 for a total be approved of $631,704.33.
Any questions for the treasurer on the warrant? The roll, please.
We need a motion.
Oh, that's a good thing. I'm doing really good. Alderman Shower, seconded by Alderman Marquez.
Move it along.
Any questions for the treasurer? The roll, please.
Shower,
Aye.
Marquez.
Aye.
Avci,
Aye.
Belkey,
Aye.
McIver,
Aye.
Paderewski,
Aye.
Seifert,
Aye.
7 ayes.
The warrant has been approved. Do you want to go over the monthly report, please?
Okay, the monthly report reflecting the 11 months ended March 31st, 2013 reflects general fund with year-to-date revenue of $12,518,426, expenditures of $9,314,354 for a current balance of $4,512,598. Water fund year-to-date revenue $4,896,611, expenditures of $5,186,758 for a current balance of $588,008. Motor fuel tax fund year-to-date revenues of $598,129, expenditures $495,034 for a current balance of $312,919. Water Depreciation Fund, year-to-date revenue $508,031, expenditures $21,907, for a current balance of $762,398. Capital Improvement Fund, year-to-date revenue of $5,087,085, expenditures of $2,929,094, for a current balance of $4,022,699. And Capital Projects Debt Service Fund, year-to-date revenue $498,021, expenditures $494,375, for a current balance of $7,854.
Any questions for the treasurers on the report? Let's move on then to standing committee reports. Do any of the chairmen have reports? Alderman Marquez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a reminder that the next Municipal Services Committee meeting will take place on Monday, April 29th, in the council chambers at 6:30 p.m.
Excuse me, is that April 22nd
Excuse
or
me,
29th?
April 29th.
29th.
Okay.
Police committee?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We are going to withhold our next meeting date until the new committees, following the
Okay.
the final council swearing in,
Yes.
and then new committee appointments.
Very good.
So there could be a meeting in May, but it would probably be after that.
Okay.
Madam
Administrative
Mayor,
Yeah. go ahead.
Mr. Gombeck informed me that we have 5 Mondays in May, 5 Mondays in April, so it's April 22nd, not
That-
April 29th.
Thank you.
All right, that's what you had down.
We're
Yeah,
usually the
yeah.
last Monday, that's why I said April
Okay.
29th.
Okay. Administrative finance, do you feel the need to have any meetings before? Okay.
No.
All righty.
We just had one last week.
Okay. Let's move on to questions and comments, agenda related. I think we can take up the issue that I asked that item under new business, item A be removed until the new council is in session. But we did want to have any discussion at this point. I believe Alderman Belke had brought up some concerns that she wanted to discuss. And did you want to lead off that discussion, please?
Yes, is the resolution stands right now in the writing, as we just talked about, that it's not going to be voted on today, but we're going to talk about it at the next meeting. I would like to see more of a separation between the dialogue between the district and us and being separate from the resolution. Right now, the resolution is combined into kind of giving notice that we're not putting the money in, and also saying that it's not our policy, but our decision to put that on the school districts. One of the things I wanted to bring up, and is one of the points that a lot of residents are making, and a lot of residents may not be aware, is that out of the 3 districts, District 61, 63, and 66, 63 and 66 do pay for their own crossing guards. So if they are paying for the crossing guards through the police budget, they're double counting. They're paying for their district, plus they're paying the taxes for the police to have it in that budget. So that's kind of where I see the difference. It's really, like Brian said, it's really not a right or wrong. It's the policy that we want to make. There's certainly statistics out there from benchmarking that other communities are including it or they aren't including it, and so there's a lot of that. It's just something that we have to conclude as a council, and I think it makes the most sense to delay it for the next sworn-in people to see where they are coming from, because this will affect next year's budget, which they would be part of. So, and then there was one other thing that came up that I brought up, which is 33% of the students. It's a recent statistic that I came across, that one of the neighbors had told me that 33% of the students in 61 are free and reduced, and we talked about that at the work session. And Alderman Marquez is pretty familiar with some of that programming as well, and you can
address
kinda
that.
discuss what we talked about.
Well, when a school district has children who are classified in certain ways, the school district does receive reimbursement from the state commensurate with the number. Now, I realize, having worked with Chip Johnson for a number of years, that District 61 does not receive from the state all the money that it costs them to run the programs that are mandated by the state. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they're getting every penny that they need to get. While they have a different demographic and population than 63 in the other district, that should not be a reason why they are allowed to have the funding for the crossing guards, in my mind, because they do receive other funding. I don't know their budget. I don't know the intricacies of their budget, but I do know how state funding takes place. And of course, these days the state is not funding anything very well, to be quite honest with you. So they may be having issues with that as well. But at the same time, as a former high school administrator who did budgets, you know, and sought reimbursement, we were reimbursed for those special programs that we did have. So I would not accept that as the rationale for saying, you know, we shouldn't have to pay for crossing guards.
Did anyone else? I think Alderman Abchi had some comments.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. You know, well, the city, at least some of the aldermen, maybe a majority after today, thinks that this really falls on the shoulders of the school district to pay for school crossing guards. But the school district does not agree with that. And in fact, they've sent the survey, and Brian, you forwarded the survey to us back in November, where it indicates that out of about 28 suburbs surveyed, 22 of them, the schools, 22 of them, the cities or villages pay for them. And out of those 28, 4 the school districts pay, and 2 municipalities cost share between the city and the village or the and the school district. So they point to the fact, maybe rightly so, that it really is the city's responsibility. So for the city to go ahead and in a kind of like cowboy-like fashion to eliminate this from the budget without talking to the school district and without having to come to some sort of understanding and coming back to the council with a solution rather than a problem, as it appears to be, is really playing chicken with the school district, and the individuals that are getting affected are the children who are walking to school, especially in light of the fact that this area we're talking about, 75th Street and Cass, is going to be undergoing construction over the next couple of years. My opinion is, and it's only my opinion at this point, is that the city ought to work with the school district, come up with a mutual agreement, and present that as a solution to the council rather than going out with a unilateral decision saying that we intend to cut the budget and you deal with it. So that's my comment.
Alderman McIver, no comments? Any comments?
You know, I've said, you know, my piece over the weekend. You know, it was really nice yesterday, and I had residents asking about, you know, why this program's cut and why that program's cut. So there's definitely programs that could be paid for that would serve the community as a whole, as opposed to taxpayers that pay for those services for their own school district, and then in addition, they're paying for those services for another school district that their children don't attend. I don't think anyone's disputing the fact that there's a busy street that needs to be attended to, but I guess I still have a hard time understanding why the district doesn't think it's their responsibility to assume that responsibility and provide whatever those services are. I mean, I don't know what their budget is exactly, if it's 12 million or whatever, but what's their total budget? Does anyone know?
I think it's double of ours, at least. I think.
Yeah.
What's the budget? Does somebody in the audience know?
I'll find it eventually. It's somewhere in here.
Yeah, I mean, what's 17 million. So 24,000 of a $17 million budget. You know, I think I saw that key administrators were getting raises, you know, that partially could have covered the cost of, you know, crossing guards. So it's, I think, up to the, you know, the district to prioritize, you know, where they should be spending their money, just like we have to do the same here with the council. So that's my position.
So those are items of discussion. Yes, Alderman
Well,
Abshi?
maybe there's one other aspect to this. The reason being put forward is for cutting the crossing guard budget from the city is a matter of fairness. Now let's think of this scenario. The city goes ahead and cuts it out of the budget, and the school district doesn't pick up. And with the construction going on, there is, God forbid, an accident, a kid that gets injured and goes to the court. What do you think the judge is going to do? What do you think is the judge going to think fair? Is it going to be say, oh, the city was being fair, so they cut it off, that's okay? Or is it going to be fair to the person who got injured and the jury? So I think the city is also putting itself in danger by taking this unilateral action.
Excuse me, but the streets belong to DuPage County, so they would be liable.
Well,
If we want to carry through on your point.
No, not really, because the city has responsibility for safety even on the county streets. The sheriff doesn't come control Cass Avenue.
We have
It's the city.
responsibility for every street in the city of Darien for safety?
Yes. Not every street, only the ones that.
So if anybody is hit on in Wilmette and 69th Street, it's our liability.
Well, if it's in the unincorporated area, that's the sheriff's responsibility. Maybe the chief can elaborate on that and enlighten us better. But on the other parts, I think our police department has an agreement with the DuPage County to provide police protection. We provide protection when we see a corner to be kind of risky. We put up stop signs there. We put traffic signals. This is really no different than having a stop sign at a street corner where you think some action needs to be taken. And I think, at least again in my opinion, until the students get to the school property, it really is the city's responsibility.
Then we should budget for more crossing guards at other key busy intersections like 83rd Street and Lamont Road, where kids are crossing for Center Cass District 66. So, I think that the fact is that if no one's disagreeing that they should have crossing guards, I think what we're saying is, and it's not an equity thing, I think the reverse argument on the liability issue would be that if we're responsible for those crossing guards and there's an accident and someone's killed, is that then a liability on the city of Darien and the Darien Police Department that they weren't effectively managing the crossing guards? I mean, there's two sides to the liability question as well. I think it's just, as a decision of how we should be managing our police department, I don't understand, it's something we've done in the past. We've given them, now it'll be 2 years' notice of trying to figure out how to squeeze $24,000 out of their $17 million budget. I think it's not, something that seems unreasonable to me to have, that time frame to figure out how to take care of their own crossing guards and how to get their kids back and forth to school safely. The other districts have figured it out, so they should too.
Well, if
Alderman
they do,
Seifert?
Just one second.
No.
If they do, you're right. But if they don't, then the city still assumes the responsibility. By providing crossing guards, you're actually reducing the risk of that.
But if they don't, shame on them that they're not concerned about the safety of getting their children back and forth to school safely.
Alderman Seifert?
Well, I think that, Alderman Belke makes a lot of good points, and, I would like to I've mentioned this before, I'd like to take a step back a little bit here, and at the initial police committee meeting when we discussed this, actually we were talking about outsourcing the crossing guards, and the question came up as to why the city is paying for the crossing guards for District 61. And reviewing my notes from that police committee meeting, all three of us at the meeting agreed that, one, we should ask the school district what their position was on this and see if they would like to pay for it. And two, it was also our unanimous consensus that any action by the city to stop paying for crossing guards should be take steps, meaning we could cut back a certain amount 1 year and then cut back more the next year. I don't think at any point during that police committee meeting did we discuss just not funding the crossing guards, period. So I'm not sure if the response from the school district triggered all this, because their response was sort of
Yeah,
cut
no.
and dry.
Yeah,
No, thanks.
nothing, yeah.
Try again. But ever since then, all of a sudden, this has become a very emotionally charged policy issue. So, but again, I still would like to take a step back and go to our original committee consensus from all three of us saying, if we're going to do something as far as removing or paying for crossing guards, we should phase it out. Because, getting back to the point that I keep harping on, I really don't want to envision the 75th construction with either untrained or no crossing guards. I just think that's a very short period of time. And we're supposed to have flaggers, I understand that, but, no Thacker Drive is going to disappear. So now you're going to have untrained crossing guards possibly guiding kids through that construction maze. I don't know. I would just, again, like to take a step back to our original consensus, and if we're going to do something like this, then phase it out over a certain period of time.
Well, I don't think it was ever a case of untrained crossing guards.
But we don't know.
We were talking about having Andy Frayne, a professional outsourced.
Right, no, I'm saying if we remove the funding for the crossing guards and shift it back on the school districts, we're running the possibility that you're going to have untrained crossing guards or possibly even teachers guiding the students during this construction phase. I don't think that's a very good idea.
Well, that's an assumption too. So, Alderman, Treasurer Corr?
I don't know if you remember, Jorg, but during the budget discussion, I suggested that we look at cutting it back and maybe bring it down to 12,000 this year and 12,000 next year, and there really didn't seem to be any enthusiasm for that.
Yeah, and I don't know what
rightly or
happened. I really think maybe that the response from the school district sort of triggered this all or nothing
It did.
approach.
It was an all or nothing situation.
Yes,
That was their
and
response.
I think that had a lot to do with the
Yeah.
shift, and all of a sudden, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, there was no compromise in
Absolutely.
their
Right.
message. Yeah.
So
Based on what Alderman Abshi is saying, of course, whatever we go to the school board with, if we say, what's your opinion on it? Their opinion, obviously, is you guys should fund it at 100%. I would take the same opinion if it was something they were paying for from us. We all have our interests, but again, as Alderman MacGyver indicates, our interests are really citywide, and even looking at that survey, Alderman Abshi saying where 22 are providing it, they might be single school districts where everybody in the district is receiving it, as opposed to ours where 2 are not and 1 is. I don't know that to be a fact, but we really don't know the specifics behind that survey.
So I'm not sure that argument in and of itself would stand by anyway.
Which argument are you talking about?
The revenue spending for one school district as opposed to the other 2 school districts, because there's lots of revenues in the city that we don't spend equally among all the wards, among all the residents. So, here you have a different breakdown of the city where we're spending different amounts in different wards. So that's a great argument for this point, but it may not be a great argument. I've heard the same argument from people on this council arguing for spending certain money as opposed to not spending certain money. So, we can frame that when it suits us, but again, we're back to a policy and emotionally.
I guess I was just getting back to your point. I guess what I would like to see is letting the school board know, and I think even Alderman Belke is saying, hey, let's give them some notice, which they have had quite a bit of notice at this point, and maybe the only way of getting their attention is, hey, we are going to be phasing this out, whether it's all a year from now or half now and then half then. But at some point, again, as long as we keep providing it, they're going to keep taking it. There's no question about that.
Right, but we haven't really discussed the phasing out ever since that initial question,
I brought
right?
it up at the budget, but nobody seemed to be excited about it at that point. I don't know if people are more excited about it now, but it's obviously still something that could be evaluated.
Appears to be a very emotionally charged issue.
Alderman Abshi?
One additional comment. I'm not certain that the response from the school district is that clear cut, that they wanted all or nothing, or they wanted all. In fact, if you look at the letter, it does talk about looking at the alternative options. And one of those alternative options could be cost sharing.
But they didn't provide that information.
Did that cover 2 topics though, Halil? I think the letter itself
did,
covered
but
our engagement at the schools as well, and I don't know if
it
that.
talked about the air program, and it talked about the crossing guards, and then this.
Because we also have emails and attendance by some of the school board members. I thought it was
so
pretty
I think
clear.
maybe it needs clarification. I'm sitting down and talking with the school district and see if there might be some compromise.
guess what? We'll have this discussion again
You will.
in May, so.
John's real happy he's not a part.
Well, my position was, that it should be handled by the schools, but I like the phase-in approach, where we chop a little bit off every year over 2 or 3 years and be done with it.
I didn't hear that before, Alderman Poderowski. This is the first time I've heard that from you.
Well, I've had 5 or 6 meetings worth.
If there's no other discussion, I'd like to move to old business, and there being no old business, let's move right to the consent agenda. And the items on the consent agenda are the following. A motion to approve the 4th Annual Hornet Hustle 2013 5K Run, 1 mile walk on Sunday, May 5th, and authorizing all of the different streets to be closed, and that includes the path, the route for the 5K run and the 1 mile walk. Item B is consideration of a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the city administrator to purchase a security camera system to monitor 1041 South Frontage Road from Andromeda in an amount not to exceed $16,208.95. Item C is a motion to approve a resolution temporarily waiving building permit fees to encourage home improvements and maintenance and upgrades within the city through April 30th, 2014. Do I have a motion to approve? Alderman Abchi, seconded by Alderman Seifert. The roll, please.
Avci?
Aye.
Seifert?
Aye.
Shower?
Aye.
Poderowski?
Aye.
McIver?
Aye.
Belkey?
Aye.
Marquez?
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays.
All the items have been approved under new business. There is no new business this evening. Let's move to questions, comments, and announcements of a general nature. Does anyone on the council have any announcements that they'd like to provide now? Then let's open it up to the audience. Does anyone want to address the audience? Please come up. Address the council, I mean.
Alita Pecknick, 609 72nd Street. I just wanted to briefly comment, Mayor Weaver and Chief Brown, on coming to the Younger Than Ever Senior meeting with the Our Lady of Peace group. And I couldn't be there, but my husband was there. And he
Arletta, can you bring this closer to you?
I'm sorry. Yeah, my husband was there, Tom, and he talked to the people afterwards, and they were just really, really impressed that you came out and gave them some very educational and good information. And I think, too, I would like to commend Chief Brown, the recognition that our senior population is growing, and that he's concerned about that, and having the two officers get the training towards this direction, I think is just a real positive and supportive move for Darien, and it shows that you care for the seniors, and I just want to thank you both for doing that. Chief Brown, great job, and I just have one question. Those cards that will be filled out with information for the seniors. Now, I know that when the seniors call 911, it's very intimidating because it goes to that center and they have to say Darien. If they don't, they have to go through a lot of questions. By having these cards on file, will they go to those cards first and say, oh, this is a senior, Chief Brown, and then refer that to possibly those officers? Or how will that work in the database as far as those cards that you're going to have the seniors make out, those contact cards?
Yes.
Is that going to go into the database then?
It will go into the database, but the call taker at the 911 center operates off the phone number, depending on what type of phone it is and where it's located geographically. And the call, if it's within the geographic limits of Darien, it goes to the DUCOM 911 center. If it's from either a cell phone or outside those geographic limits, it goes to the sheriff's department first, and then it's rerouted, if it's a Darien call, to that what happens then is if it turns out to be a senior at an address in Darien, then the dispatch call taker will review that card, and any pertinent information on that card will be conveyed to the responding officer.
So they will have that card available at
They
that
will, yes,
point?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. And I also think it's a great idea to come out to the different organizations, senior organizations, and have them fill those cards out right there.
On the
So-
set, yeah.
So
Yeah.
thanks again for addressing the seniors so well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Arletta, are you on the board for the Younger Than Ever seniors? Are you involved in, or is it just Tom that,
It's just Tom. He was the treasurer, now he holds another office.
okay.
They've asked me to be on that, but
How often do they meet? Is it just this?
Once a month.
Once a month? This is the month. This is the Monday that they're meeting.
Exactly.
Okay. I wonder if we should get, Chief, I wonder if we should get a stack of cards to them right away for the next meeting that we can, yeah, we might want to have them start filling those things out right away so we can get things moving faster for them as contacts.
Good.
Yeah. Thanks,
you.
Arletta.
Thank you very much.
Alderman Marquez?
You know, Madam Mayor, I forgot to mention this, but considering what happened in Boston today with the Boston Marathon, maybe it would be appropriate if we'd ask the citizens of Darien to keep the people who were involved in that in their prayers tonight. A lot of people were injured, from what I understand, very seriously, over 130-some people, with several dead. And it truly is a tragedy, and it's probably something we should all be mindful of.
Chief?
We've been getting blow-by-blow detailed from our Joint Terrorist Task Force and from the CPIC in Chicago, based on the crime analyst training. We've been getting the blow-by-blow. It's being treated right now as a terrorist incident.
Yeah.
Nobody's claimed responsibility for it at this time. The most prevailing belief right now is that there were 3 additional devices that were not detonated, and there were 3 that were in fact detonated, 2 at the finish line and 1 at a library.
JFK Library, yeah.
JFK Library.
Oh.
And I think there were 2 confirmed dead and 137 confirmed injuries. Some of them were
Horrific, yeah.
traumatic
Yeah.
amputation. So
Yeah.
it is something to be mindful of, and we've been on top of it and checking to see what
I had
impact.
heard that there was 2 undetonated devices. Now you're saying that you've heard that there were 3 more?
I believe it was 3. I'd have to look back at the last correspondence that we got, but I thought it was 3.
Yeah, that's amazing.
The JFK Library.
They're treating it, they're not treating it as related, but they can't overlook that.
Mayor Weaver?
I'm sorry,
Oh, that's okay.
Alderman MacGyver?
On the, back to the senior program, I thought of some other potential tie-in, and I'm not sure if it would apply, Chief, but when Officer Squares was here, he presented that cell phone database through the county for, what's that? Smart 911. The county still has that going, correct? Because
Yes,
I
as
get
far as I
updates.
know, yes, ma'am.
So that might be another thing to talk to the seniors about, making sure that they register for that, because again, if something happens and they, fall down and they have their cell phone and they are registered with Smart 911, then all that information is readily available as well.
I think Officer Liska and Officer Renner could do that as part of their presentation too.
Yeah, because that's another thing to add to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I happened to be talking to one of the members of the Younger Than Ever seniors today, and I suggested that they get in contact with Downers Grove Township because, as you know, they were here to present to us how much they have to offer for seniors too. So I think we can keep the seniors groups pretty busy with information in the near future. Is there anyone else that wanted to address the council? Then I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman MacGyver, seconded by Alderman Shower. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
She's almost embarrassed by it these days.
What's that?
You're almost embarrassed.
I don't even want to look over there.